Hey there, welcome to another episode of Movies Philosophy, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories that move us, challenge us, and sometimes even change us. I'm so glad you're here with me today, because we're stepping into one of the most powerful films ever made, a story that lingers long after the credits roll. Picture this. A man sits alone in a dimly lit prison cell, the weight of a life sentence pressing down on him. He's been stripped of everything: freedom, identity, hope. And yet, somehow, in the darkest of places, he finds a way to keep going. What keeps a person alive when the world has locked them away? That's the question at the heart of today's episode, as we explore the Shawshank Redemption and the idea of hope as a discipline. If you haven't seen this 1994 masterpiece directed by Frank Darabont, don't worry. I'll walk you through the story as if we're sitting together over a cup of coffee, just unpacking it scene by scene. And if you have seen it, well, I bet you'll still feel the weight of every moment as we relive it together. Based on a novella by Stephen King, The Shawshank Redemption isn't just a prison drama, it's a meditation on the human spirit. So let's step into the gray, oppressive walls of Shawshank State Penitentiary and meet the man who teaches us what it truly means to hold on to hope. Our story begins in 1947 with Andy Dufresne, a quiet, unassuming banker played with such subtle intensity by Tim Robbins. Andy's life takes a devastating turn when he's convicted of murdering his wife and her lover. He didn't do it, but the evidence is stacked against him, and just like that, he's sentenced to 2 life terms in Shawshank, a place that feels more like a tomb than a prison. As we follow Andy through the gates, you can almost feel the cold steel and hear the clanging of bars. This isn't just a loss of freedom, it's a loss of self. The world outside moves on without him, and inside, he's surrounded by men who've long forgotten what it means to dream. That's where we meet Ellis Boyd Redding, or Red, played by the incomparable Morgan Freeman. Red is the heart and voice of this story, narrating with a weary wisdom that pulls you in from the first word. He's been in Shawshank for decades, a man who knows how to survive by keeping his head down and his expectations lower. Red is the guy who can get you anything: cigarettes, booze, even a rock hammer, if you ask nicely. He's cynical, hardened by years of disappointment, but there's a flicker of something more in him, a longing he doesn't dare name. When he first meets Andy, he doesn't think much of him, just another new fish, likely to break under the brutality of prison life. But Andy? He's different. As the years crawl by, we watch Andy navigate the horrors of Shawshank. The violence is unrelenting: beatings from guards, assaults from fellow inmates. There's a group called the Sisters, who prey on the vulnerable, and Andy becomes their target. It's heartbreaking to witness the way he endures with this quiet stoicism, never letting them see him crumble. But survival in Shawshank isn't just about physical endurance. It's about finding a reason to keep going. For Andy, that reason starts small. He begins working in the prison library, a dusty, forgotten corner of Shawshank, and he pours himself into making it something more. He writes letters, week after week, begging the state for funding to expand the library. Most would have given up after the first rejection, but not Andy. His persistence is almost stubborn, like he's clinging to something bigger than himself. Meanwhile, a friendship forms between Andy and Red, slow and steady, built on late-night conversations and shared silences. There's a moment early on that sticks with you. Andy asks Red for a rock hammer, just a small tool to carve chess pieces out of stone. Red gets it for him, half amused, half curious about this odd, soft-spoken man. But there's something in Andy's eyes, a determination that Red can't quite place. They bond over the little things, playing checkers, talking about life outside these walls. Red starts to see that Andy isn't just surviving. He's living, even here, in a place designed to strip away humanity. One of the most unforgettable scenes comes when Andy manages to play music over the prison's loudspeaker system. He locks himself in the warden's office and puts on a record of Mozart, letting the haunting beauty of an Italian opera fill the air. Every inmate stops, frozen, as the notes wash over them. For a few minutes, the walls of Shawshank disappear, and these men, broken, angry, hopeless, remember what it feels like to be free. Red describes it as something so beautiful it hurts, a reminder of a world beyond their cages. It's a small act of rebellion, but it's also a gift, a moment of grace in a place devoid of it. Of course, Andy pays for it with tea. Me in solitary, but you get the sense he'd do it again in a heartbeat. Time moves on, and Andy's quiet defiance starts to ripple through Shawshank. The library grows, thanks to his relentless letter writing, becoming a sanctuary for the inmates. He helps others earn their high school diplomas, teaching them to read and write. He even takes on a young inmate named Tommy under his wing, a kid with a good heart but a rough past. Through Tommy, Andy learns something that could change everything, a confession from another prisoner that points to the real killer in his wife's murder. For the first time, there's a chance for justice, a chance to get out. But Shawshank isn't a place that lets go easily. The warden, a corrupt and cruel man named Norton, has been using Andy's financial skills to launder money. Andy's innocence threatens that, and the system, cold, unyielding, crushes his chance at freedom in the most brutal way. I won't spoil the details, but let's just say it's a moment that leaves you gutted, questioning how much one person can take before they break. Through it all, Andy keeps talking about hope. He tells Red about a place called Zihuatanejo, a little fishing village on the Pacific coast of Mexico. It's a dream, a vision of a life where the ocean stretches endless and blue, where a man can start over. Red scoffs at first. Hope, he says, is a dangerous thing. It can drive a man insane in a place like this. But Andy disagrees. He says hope is the one thing they can't take away, the thing that keeps him going. Get busy living or get busy dying, he tells Red, and those words hang in the air like a challenge. Now, I don't want to give away the ending because the final act of the Shawshank Redemption is something you need to experience for yourself, whether it's your first time or your 10th. But I will say this. The story builds to a moment of such profound, quiet triumph that it feels like a sunrise after the longest night. It's not loud or flashy. It's raw and real, a testament to the power of patience, of belief, of holding on to something, even when the world tells you to let go. So let's step back from the story for a moment and think about what the Shawshank Redemption is really saying to us. This isn't just a tale of prison breaks or corrupt systems. It's a mirror held up to our own lives. How often do we find ourselves in our own versions of Shawshank, trapped by circumstances, by fear, by the weight of past mistakes? Maybe it's a job that drains us, a relationship that's turned toxic, or a grief we can't seem to shake. Whatever it is, these walls can feel just as real, just as suffocating. And like Red, we might tell ourselves that hope is dangerous, that it's easier to stop dreaming, to just survive. But Andy shows us something different. His hope isn't blind optimism or wishful thinking. It's a discipline. It's the choice to keep writing those letters, to keep carving those chess pieces, to keep imagining Zihuatanejo, even when the odds are stacked against him. It's about finding meaning in the small acts, the ones no one else might notice. Think about that scene with the music. Andy risks everything just to give the inmates a fleeting moment of beauty. It's not about escaping in that moment. It's about reminding himself, and everyone else, that they're still human, that there's still something worth fighting for. This idea of hope as a discipline resonates so deeply because it's not passive. It's not waiting for a miracle to fall into your lap. It's the hard, quiet work of showing up, day after day, even when you're tired, even when you're scared. I think about times in my own life when I've felt stuck, when the future looked like nothing but gray walls. There was a period after a big loss when I didn't know how to move forward. Getting out of bed felt like a victory some days. But I started small, writing in a journal, taking a walk, reaching out to a friend. Those little things, those tiny acts of defiance against despair, they built something. They reminded me that I could still choose to live, not just exist. Andy's story also makes me think about the people we lean on, the Reds in our lives. Friendship in the Shawshank Redemption isn't just a side note, it's a lifeline. Andy and Red save each other in ways they don't even realize at first. Red gives Andy protection and a sense of belonging in a brutal world, while Andy gives Red a reason to hope again, to imagine a life beyond Shawshank. It's a reminder that we don't carry our burdens alone. Sometimes, the person sitting across from us at the table, listening to our quiet dreams, is the one who helps us keep going. Who's your Red? Who's the person who's been there through the gray days, even if they didn't have all the answers? And then there's the theme of resilience, of enduring when the world seems determined to break you. Andy faces unimaginable pain, physical, emotional, systemic, yet he doesn't let it define him. He keeps his dignity, his curiosity, his capacity for kindness. There's a lesson there about how we respond to suffering. Do we let it harden us, like so many of the inmates in Shawshank, or do we find a way to stay soft, to stay open? It's not easy. Some days it feels impossible. But watching Andy, you start to believe it's worth trying. As we wrap up this journey through the Shawshank Redemption, I want to leave you with a gentle thought. something to carry with you into your own story. Hope isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. It's the decision to keep going, to keep dreaming, even when the walls around you feel unbreakable. Maybe your Zihuatanejo isn't a beach in Mexico. Maybe it's a new chapter, a healed relationship, or simply a morning when you wake up and feel a little lighter. Whatever it is, hold on to it. Nurture it. Let it be the thing that gets you through the long nights. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Movies Philosophy. If The Shawshank Redemption stirred something in you, or if there's another film you'd love us to explore, drop me a message or leave a review. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, remember Andy's words. Get busy living, or get busy dying. Choose to live, my friends. Choose to hope. I'll see you in the next episode.